Good morning, wrestling fans, and welcome to PWR today, Thursday morning, February 3rd, 2022. The man they call Meathead and Matthew Thomas. I was going to say the coffin Matthew Thomas, but that's the man they call Meathead. He's still trying to get rid of his quote-unquote winter in Wisconsin cold that he has. Morning,
hey,
Matt.
that's a good morning. A spoonful of sugar, I've heard, helps.
I heard it helps the medicine go down, but I've never actually applied it.
Well, hey, I mean, it's never too late to do that, man. You know,
it's never too late.
That's that Mary Poppins. That's that Mary Poppins logic. Although I bet you would be doing some coughing if you were sweeping chimneys like Dick Van Dyke.
Well, yeah, and Dick, he got dirty a lot, sweeping them chimneys. But then again, he came back as a doctor in scrubs. So let's move on here. Matthew, I heard that you got some snow out in Denver.
Yeah, we had almost 24 straight hours of snow. Like, not a crazy accumulation, but
are there any YouTube videos out there of you trying to drive a car meant for the South in the snow?
Hey, I will tell you what, I made it to work and back successfully, man, not getting stuck along the way. Matter of fact, I may or may not have been clearing paths for other vehicles, man. That's the kind of way I roll.
You've learned, huh?
I've learned. I mean, I should probably just hook a little snowplow to the front of my mode of transportation and just plow them roads, man. I'm a seasoned Colorado driver now.
What's his name? It's Mr. Plow. All right. Thanks, Mr. Plow. Hey, Mr. Plow, who's the sponsor for the program this morning?
Hey, Collar and Elbow Brand, if you're out plowing the roads, man, you want to look fashionable when you do it, head on over to collarandelbowbrand.com, enter promo code LindaK, save yourself 10%, and look good while doing it.
Hey, we've been looking good lately with the numbers increasing, folks. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to all of our platforms that you listen to. And that's Facebook, that's iTunes, that's Apple Podcasts, that's Spotify. We are not canceling our service. We're going to be on Spotify. We're talking about YouTube. We're talking about, I think there's a bunch of others as well. But wherever you listen, like, subscribe, even comment, it does help out, and the numbers are growing. Well, it's that time of the year again, too, so the numbers are consistently on the rise. We appreciate everybody that listens, comments, people from, outside of Zion, Illinois, all the way through to Wine Country, USA. That's a shot for you there, Ruben. Let's talk a little bit of news, shall we?
I think it's a big news day.
It is. And, Thursday mornings are normally going to be loaded with Dynamite news. We cannot start there. We have to start in the WWE, and we will make our way to AEW. But first, Shane O'Mac with a glorious return, a surprise return at the Rumble, and a surprise exit from the company. Ladies and gentlemen, Shane McMahon has, the term going around the interweb, has been quietly let go of the company due to heat from the Royal Rumble. Allegedly, he had a lot to do with the booking of the men's match. Now, we've said here, I said that, I considered it a tale of two different matches, right? Allegedly, it was chaos backstage because of, same day changes. Everybody rehearsed the match on Friday, and now we're changing the match on a Saturday. Well, Shane McMahon had a lot to do with that, allegedly, and he was the lead producer and writer for the match. It led to a lot of locker room heat for McMahon because he also booked himself into the match, and he's been quietly let go. Matthew Thomas, I got to ask this just random one-off question here, but it has to be asked. Is Shane McMahon all elite?
No.
It's not trolled with that one. He's
not going not by a long shot. He'll jump the rails along with Triple H, right?
No, I think he'll end up back in WWE at some point, but it's not this year. I don't think he's at Mania. I don't think he's at Chamber, which is where he was supposed to go. Remember, they're heading overseas, halfway around the world to do the Elimination Chamber in about 3 weeks.
I think Shane would have garnered a lot more interest if he'd have shown up the night after the Rumble on Raw. I think him coming in the Rumble, we talked about with my little Rumble recap.
Yeah.
You had a lot of people in the Rumble that you just immediately discounted as not having a shot at winning.
You say that, and it's funny because, Matthew, we always talk about what is something built for? Who is it built for? And that Rumble wasn't built for Shane McMahon.
No, and especially getting Shane late. I mean, so basically you've got somebody that it would not be received successfully if he won. A, that's a given right there. B, He's coming in late, I think at 28. You know, that's a high profile spot. And I think there were some wins let out of the sale, knowing that it was going to come down to Shane as one of the last few guys in the Rumble. What could that position have done for somebody else, whether they entered late or whether they had been in the Rumble for a while? So you got to look at it from that perspective. And I don't know where they were necessarily going. There's been some rumors, potentially a Rollins and McMahon program, and I don't know that would have been terrible. But again, I think you could have launched that. You could have launched that either post Royal Rumble or post Elimination Chamber. I don't think there was any need for Shane. The talk
was that they were going to launch that after the Rumble because Shane McMahon only eliminated one person, and it was Kevin Owens.
Yeah. And I mean, we've gotten that before, you know, and it's just, I don't know, man. I don't think the Rumble was the place for Shane, and I don't think a spot in the Chamber was the place for Shane. Again, it was potential talk of him being in the Chamber. And you got to look at Shane as I think he is a special attraction that can garner interest, but I don't think Shane necessarily even needs to wrestle. Having Shane in a segment on Raw or SmackDown each week, I don't think it hurts anything. But when he's taking a Prime Rumble spot, when he's potentially taking a Chamber spot, I'm not going to argue with Shane having a WrestleMania match. But when it's prime real estate, don't think that's the right move. And I think that's kind of what happened here with the Rumble, and a little surprised that the fallout is as significant as it is that he's parting ways with the company now. But I think this is a story that's probably still going to, you know, be unpacked in the upcoming days.
Upcoming days and upcoming weeks, to be honest with you.
In months and potentially years or decades.
I mean, yes, Mr. Technical, but I think this story's got legs and it's going to go for a while. So Shane McMahon, unofficially, quietly, not part of WWE anymore. There's one other story that we have to talk about, and it's going to lead us into AEW, and it's going to lead us into the results. We told you yesterday morning that we were going to be opening up the show last night with a WWE champion versus WWE champion match. It was going to be Jon Moxley taking on former WWE champion, the Brian Kendrick. We had some fun with the whole, you know, he was champion. It was more than 3 minutes. I rewatched that match. He was champion for about 5 to 7 minutes until Triple H came in and then pinned him, and then that was the end of that. But Brian Kendrick, Tony Khan tweeted out that Brian Kendrick would not be performing on Dynamite last night due to some comments that resurfaced on the internet as he was getting ready to make his debut for AEW. And folks, we're not going to go deep into these comments, all right? I'm just going to kind of paraphrase, and I'm just going to kind of touch on them. They're disturbing to be safe. There was a term of Jew doctors, and he said the Holocaust was overhyped. Matthew, real quick opinion.
Tony Khan made the right call. You can't feature that person on your programming or in your company.
I'm having a hard time just putting it all together, to be completely honest with you. One, how was that not researched? Two, how did he continue to work over and over? I understand why it came up because, you know, oh my God, Brian Kendrick's on. So he became trending, right? And then these other comments showed up in results, and Google probably popped them up. It's not like somebody was after Brian Kendrick to do this. This was just algorithms popping up comments from Brian Kendrick. And the term from Tony Khan was abhorrent past comments. Yeah. Abhorrent. Tony made the right move. And it's too bad. Here's the quote from Tony Khan, and this is really where we want to wrap it up. We've been made aware of abhorrent and offensive comments in the past by Brian Kendrick. There's no room in AEW for the views expressed by Brian. We think it's best for all that Brian be pulled from tonight's card as we gather more info. We'll announce a replacement bout ASAP, and that was at 5:45 Eastern yesterday.
Okay, so a couple hours before they were going on the air.
There is a, you know what? My feed just popped a new comment from Kendrick.
Oh.
I apologize for all the hurt and embarrassment I have caused with my words. These are not my beliefs and never were beliefs of mine, and I crossed the line. I spread the most vile comments without thinking of the damage it would cause. I will live with this regret for the rest of my life. I'm truly sorry for the pain I have caused. Okay.
I think that's all you can do.
Really, and we've said this multiple times in this particular program. Own it, apologize, move on. Now, these are some pretty gnarly comments. Will the wrestling world allow him to come back from it?
That remains to be seen.
Okay. So let's move into AEW Dynamite from last night. And the opening match was still Jon Moxley, but it wasn't going to be Brian Kendrick, the Brian Kendrick. And it ended up being Wheeler Yuta with a special guest. No, not just Orange Cassidy. Danhausen. What's Danhausen doing with the Best Friends?
I like the fact that nobody's really sure. This I think was very, very good use.
Was this the best use of filling in 2 hours before showtime?
Yeah, they did a really good job here. I want to hear Danhausen on the mic. Hopefully we'll get that sooner rather than later. But yeah.
Wait, did I hear correctly? Did we talk about this yesterday morning, or did I hear correctly that Danhausen applied at AEW, but he thought it was A&W, or A&W and he thought it was AEW?
Yeah, that's what it was. He applied it, filled out an application to A&W, and there's a very, very good YouTube clip. I guess A&W has sent him like a care package, and they sent him a couple of what he refers to as tooth jars, and it's pretty classic. He's confused. Like there's a couple of mentions of root beer, and he's very, very confused as to
and he likes turtles too.
Yeah. So my goodness. I think we're in for some treats here, but and working on some new theme music for the Ass Boys
the Ass Boys, yes. All right, let's talk Moxley and Yuta. The last time Yuta had a match with Moxley blew right through him. This time, Yuta seemed to be a lot more focused, and I really enjoyed Yuta's work. Yuta wasn't winning this by any stretch of the imagination. But what we got at the end was we got Moxley and Danielson face-to-face. Now, Danielson has been watching Moxley, and we all assumed, all right, it looks like we're going to be working towards a Danielson-Moxley match, which we want to see, blah, blah, blah. Danielson gets right on the mic in Chicago and says, you guys want to see us fight? I used to think I did too. And then he turns it and says, what if we team together and start bringing up some of these young guys and make them like us? We can own this place. That was perfect writing.
Yeah, and this got some time, too. This was a pretty lengthy segment. I want this for a few weeks. Now, I don't necessarily know that I want to see a long-term tag team between these two guys. I like the idea.
They're not even necessarily talking about being a tag team. They're just talking about bringing up younger guys.
I like the idea of a stable. I kind of like that idea. I think we'll ultimately have this thing end in a match between these two at the next pay-per-view, which is March. So 6 weeks or so, I think this thing will come to a head. But I like Brian Danielson's promo here in the fact that, like, you're talking about the tag team division. You're talking about the dude who's in a dinosaur costume.
A millennial cowboy thinking he's the man. A dinosaur.
You are verbalizing a lot of the kind of comedy gimmicks that are in that division. I enjoyed that part. I'm interested to see where this plays at.
Okay. The next segment was Brandy Rhodes in ring waiting. And she starts with her promo, gets interrupted immediately by Dan Lambert. I did not like the way that was set up. I didn't like the execution of it, and I didn't like the point of it at all. Here's the thing. Brandy Rhodes called Chicago Cleveland. Cheap heat, fine, whatever. If you're going to be in the ring by yourself, that's fine. But they brought Dan Lambert out to kind of run her down and say everything that the internet fans are saying. Dan Lambert's supposed to be a heel. If you bring him out against Brandy Rhodes, he's instantly a face. Why are you doing that when we have him still working with Jake the Snake Roberts and the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer?
And I like Dan Lambert. I don't think he needs to be featured more than once in a show. So there was overexposure last night. And again, we got more of that stuff that we've seen from Cody where you're on the mic verbalizing face and heel. That does not work for me in my professional wrestling landscape, and I don't like that. And it's just it's a strange dynamic of the of the heel who is a face because he's in the ring with Brandy. And man, it's a little bit of a different era now than it was when Jericho was going back and forth with Stephanie McMahon. I feel a little bit strange,
Yeah.
watching this watching this male dog down this female on the mic.
It's
It just,
uncomfortable.
yeah, it felt uncomfortable all the way around, and not in a great way, man. I
Right,
think
because he said
Cody,
something about having her face down or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't like it.
I think,
I was gonna say I did get a little chuckle out of, hey, Ethan Page, you probably shouldn't talk because the only reason we brought you over is to try to get at Josh
yeah,
Alexander.
yeah, and it seemed like there was a lot of low hanging fruit there between both of them, and
Yeah.
it didn't come across great. And I think this is kind of the angle you're going to run for Cody. It's one thing, but it feels a little bit overplayed, kind of just having Brandy out there, as his proxy when Cody's not there.
Yeah. And Brandy, I don't think did a horrible job at handling the shut the F up chance, but she didn't do a great job. It was, eh.
Yeah.
Like I said, it wasn't the worst, and somebody who's now considered to be one of the best on the mic in the women's division, Charlotte Flair, I can tell you a bunch of times post WrestleMania, she would get owned by crowds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Brandy and Van Zant, Paige Van Zant are going to have a match. I don't know if it's next week, if it's 2 weeks, whatever. But a pull apart between Paige Van Zant and Brandy Rhodes doesn't seem realistic to me because Paige Van Zant should burn right through her.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where this lands up. And I mean, this might actually be Paige Van Zant's first match in the company.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Did not like it at all. All right, match number 2 was Pac, and Penta El Zero Miedo taking on Malachi Black and Brody King, the House of Black, and Death Triangle. Now, I was interested when Pac came out blindfolded. Oh, is he still protecting his eyes? He's holding on to Alex's shoulders. Is he going to work like kind of Orange Cassidy, where he's just going to kind of duck stuff?
Yeah.
It was a work, but it was fun.
Yeah, no, and I think it sparked some interest immediately off the bat with the crowd, and I think the crowd was pretty hot and stayed that way through the duration of this match.
Well, Black and King get the win. They went about 10 minutes or so, and the black mist went into Penta's face. The ref didn't see it, so there's the Dante's Inferno and King pinning Penta. Adam Cole interview, intense. I'm over the, hey, stupid Brandon, turn on the camera, Brandon, you big dummy. All right, shut it off. I'm over that.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't do anything for me.
It's been long since old.
Yeah. So, Adam Cole, he exactly mentioned what we mentioned. He was going to lose a lights out match because it didn't officially count against his record. He's still undefeated in AEW.
Yeah. I think that's a good, and that's a really good thing that AEW has, a little kind of side thing there that they can do that. And, it can serve multiple booking purposes.
Rancid's Lars Fredrickson was in the front row greeting Ruby Soho because that Ruby Soho song is done by Rancid. So Nyla Rose with Vicky taking on Ruby Soho. Well, that did not pan out well for Ruby Soho because with the victory, it's Nyla Rose.
Little surprise, I thought this was going to go Ruby Soho's way, but
not at all. I thought it'd be Nyla the whole time because
that's why they have the wrestling matches.
No, I mean the reason being that Ruby Soho went over her in the tournament. So I'm not saying AEW does 50-50 booking all the time, but this was prime for Nyla Rose.
Well, there you go.
All right, backstage we get the Ass Boys. I'm loving calling them that. I don't care. Billy Austin and Colton beating up on Jungle Boy. They tossed him into a snow pile. Flashback to the man they called Meathead when he was the boy they called, Ronnie Boy. And I had been thrown into my fair share of snow piles as well.
You know what? I think that's what we need to do, man. We're for all ages kind of here, but I think we might be missing the boat, man. I think at least once a week we need to have a podcast geared toward the youngsters with Ronnie Boy. I think you need to go back and adopt the Ronnie Boy persona.
The boy they called Ronnie Boy?
Yeah.
I don't, it's, that could be a podcast. I mean, I don't want to give too much of it away because, again, the book is still being written. That sounds like a you problem, the story of the man they call Meathead.
Maybe that's what we do. Like you act as the actual narrator, and I will be you as a child.
Fair enough. All right. We go back into the ring, and it's the Hangman, Adam Page, the AEW champion. Are you enjoying having Hangman appear so infrequently? Because Hangman isn't.
Yeah. I like it in the fact that it's a contrast to WWE booking.
Okay. Want to elaborate?
In the fact that you're not overusing your champion. You look at outside of a Brock Lesnar run, whoever's your champion on Raw, whoever's your champion on SmackDown, you're going to see every week, and then more often than not, you're going to see in some type of a match. It gets watered down.
Or a backstage segment.
Yeah, you go back and you watch mid-'80s NWA, Ric Flair title run. He's not there every week. I don't mind it right now. I don't want us to go, weeks on weeks and forget about him. But I think it's well,
effective. We are getting a title match next week.
Yeah,
it's going to be a Texas Death Match in Atlantic City. Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer taking on the AEW World Champion Hangman Adam Page.
And honestly, I think it elevates the rest of the roster when you are not going the WWE route and bookending your show, with having your champ out at the beginning and or the end of the show. So I'm perfectly fine with it. And we're having a title match next week. And I imagine that, after that, the following week, we'll kind of start that build towards the pay-per-view.
Probably. Dan Lambert back out again with Jake the Snake Roberts. And I don't like the pairing of those two.
No.
Because they're both doing there's two people doing one job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think Archer's any better for it either. I mean, he's kind of getting lost. He's getting lost in the middle because you've got these two overshadowing people on the mic. And Archer's one of those guys that, I don't think his mic work is bad. I mean, yeah, him and Jake are a good combo, but for him to have two stick men, it just doesn't make a ton of sense for me.
No, I don't think so either. Jericho backstage pissed off about Santana and Ortiz not tagging him in last week. They're going to have a team meeting next week in the ring. Hopefully it's not pajama day. But team meeting for the Inner Circle next week with the all 5 members. And attendance is mandatory.
Yeah, and I got to say for Jericho's promo, I think when you're turning the phrase more followers than Khloe Kardashian on Instagram, like that's some low-hanging fruit right there, man.
So what? I mean, he's going to do it. That's what he does. The segment that was supposed to be last night is going to be airing on Friday on Rampage. It's Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal for the FTW Championship.
I think that'll be a very good match.
We've also got for Friday, we've got Thunder Rosa taking on Mercedes Martinez, Sammy Guevara taking on Isaiah Cassidy, because we had that segment backstage with the Andrade Party family office. Again, the young boy stuff with Darby Allin. I talked to your father, your boss. How much for the little boy? It still creeped me out.
Yeah, I don't think that does much.
I think the main event here, they only had 4 matches on AEW Dynamite last night. And I think the main event went 2 match segments.
Yeah.
It went 40 minutes. And I think there was the FTW match that got pulled, and the Brian Kendrick match got changed to Wheeler Yuta, but it felt short. And this match was way longer than I thought it needed to be. Yeah. But it was MJF and CM Punk. Now, I didn't like the logistics of the false finish in the middle, but I didn't hate seeing it because it was fun to watch, and it's something we don't see in a long time, so I didn't mind it. We get all the way to the end, and it teased CM Punk was going to finally win, but MJF, due to interference unofficially from Ward Dog, Ward Daddy, Ward Lowe, getting the ring into MJF, and MJF wins over CM Punk in Chicago. It's CM Punk's first loss in AEW.
I got to say, the false finish really took me out of the match in the sense that felt it was unneeded. And I also, the psychology made absolutely no sense. Okay, we've got this foreign object that's being used. I get the fact that you are not going to reverse the decision, disqualify MJF, Punk wins via DQ. Although if we're going the letter of the law and pretending that professional wrestling, is not a work, that's probably what you need to do. However, the fact of the matter is, okay, this guy has been choked out to the point he could not continue, to the point his hands did not meet a 3 count.
And when are we back to the 3 counts again?
Yeah, and at the time, he was unconscious in the ring, okay? He's unconscious in the ring, and we're going to restart the match while this guy is knocked out. Now, in great professional wrestling logic, MJF bumps into him, he goes for a pin, and then Punk gets this second win. Now, if we were to believe
Hogan
he was
style.
And he's not playing possum because he's quintessentially lost the match, okay? Just a really, really big psychological hole that, I know that I'm supposed to suspend disbelief in that, but I had a hard time getting back in this match after that. I mean, the finish, the last quintessentially 25 minutes of the match was outstanding. They were telling a great story. Both guys were selling. A few things here. Tony on commentary, I really wish he would get away with, I can't stand this guy. I despise this guy.
Right.
Adam Cole's hair is so greasy.
We don't need your feelings.
Yeah, and he's doing the things that the heel announcers are supposed to do to the baby faces.
Right.
The face announcers doing to the heels. It just does not come across great. And another thing I want to throw out there, this most likely happened in Chicago, so MJF can come out and say, I beat Punk in his hometown in Chicago. Yep. The way that I look at I think this was the most important match of MJF's career, and by far and away his most important victory. I know he's a babyface. He's supposed
Excalibur called it undoubtedly MJF's biggest win in AEW.
Yeah. I know he's supposed to get booed out of the building, but for this being what it is, man, I wish it had taken place on a more neutral ground, because I think that your normal crowd outside of Chicago, yeah, MJF is the heel we're supposed to boo, but I think you missed a little bit of the importance of this match, having it in Chicago with a, almost 100% pro Punk crowd. I think it would have been a little bit more back and forth somewhere else, and not that you need it for the story, because MJF is clearly the heel, but I think this match would have had a more important feel had you done it outside of Punk's hometown.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, we've heard a differing opinion. That's the problem with our podcast, Matthew. Most of the times we agree, and you're not getting an opinion, differing. But we got to have a different opinion.
That's right. You got the split screen side. Me on one side, you in the other.
And we need Linda to come in and go, it's time for the main event.
That's right.
All right. Well, tomorrow morning we're going to talk more about AEW. What's coming up on Friday on Rampage. We'll talk about what's coming up on SmackDown. Ronda Rousey will be showing up on SmackDown. It's expected that she's going to choose Rebecca to wrestle at WrestleMania, where I will get title win points when she beats Becky Lynch.
That's good for you. I'll have some to spare.
For Matthew Thomas, the man they call Meathead, hey, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning. So long, everyone.